Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Arlene Dihamko, the multidimensional MD. Today, I wanted to talk about an important topic, the dark night of the soul, because it's something that I've seen many people go through. I've gone through myself. And collectively, over the last couple of years, the world has gone through this dark night of the soul. And so slowly we are emerging from that, hopefully emerging. Some might feel it more than others. And so I wanted to walk you through how the dark night of the soul is part of the healing process and how you can move through it, because this can be a very difficult time for people. And I've seen in so many of my patients what I call this pandemic crud. So it's this crusty kind of layer that I've seen develop over the last couple of years. And some people are able to lift it on their own. Other people seem to need some help. And really, when we help each other, it's a bit easier. So I'm going to go through what is the dark night of the soul? Can you have more than one? How long do they last? How do you know if you're in one? And what you can do about it? How can you move through it? So, three keys to help you move through it, and then some mantras that I use myself to help through these difficult periods of time. And as always, my mission is to help bring the intuitive aspects of health back to medicine in practical and tangible ways so that you can access deeper healing and feel more peace, joy, and connection in your everyday lives. So let's get to it. What is the dark night of the soul? This is a phrase that actually came from a poem by the Spanish mystic and poet St. John of the Cross. And he never actually said dark night of the soul. He actually said dark night, but it had to do with just feeling like you hit rock bottom and there's nowhere to look but up. It describes a kind of spiritual crisis. And so it's trying to figure out yourself. It can be brought on by tragedy or other life transitions or by your own internal struggle from day to day. It can also be brought on by something seemingly trivial. Maybe you missed a flight or you just missed a phone call or someone said something to you that really triggered you in a way that seemed to bring up so much from your past. It's a very difficult time in your life when everything you knew seems to go out the window. And this is why it can feel like you're dying because your ego mind has imploded or exploded. Your ego sense of self is trying to rearrange to make sense of things that don't make sense. And because everything you knew went out the window, you struggle to find meaning. The world can seem meaningless. And you can see how this might have happened to people many times during the last 2 years when so much is going on, continues to go on. And it's searching for what is the meaning in all of this. So people can feel like they're in a deep depressive state, and it can present as a kind of depression with intense sadness or feelings of despair. And it's not something you usually feel. It's not the how you feel your whole life. So there will be a certain bigger intensity to it. And you can feel like you're going crazy. And in a way, you're forced to go inward because you feel this crushing weight of things going on. You can feel like you're alone in what you're going through, even though you aren't. You aren't the only one going through what you're going through. At the same time, you are, because you're so unique and your situation is completely unique to you down to every detail. But then there are others that have been through something similar or are going through something similar. And you're always surrounded by light beings like angels and loved ones that have crossed over, although you may not readily feel their presence. And there's this feeling of isolation during the dark night, because the dark night is for you. And so you get to choose in this time to see the light of your being and the light of your own free will. And that's what makes the dark night of the soul so hard, because you can feel alone. It's a cocoon stage. And so we talked about in the pandemic, during quarantine times, being a cocoon stage. And so, so is this dark night of the soul. And so that pandemic quarantine time is also like a collective dark night of the soul. Or was also a collective night of the soul, and people are emerging at different rates from it. And this is during this cocoon stage. It's very messy, but it's that only light that is guiding you is the light of your inner being. It's the inner star of your soul. It's your heart flame that burns bright like the North Star. And that's the beauty in the dark night of the soul, because it gets so dark and so quiet that you have to go within to see the light. And that can be really difficult. So we're going to break this down into more detail. Um, so, can you have more than one dark night of the soul? Absolutely. And I've been through my fair share, and I can think of at least one dark night of the soul through every stage of my life. I remember having one as a new mom and feeling really lonely and struggling with my first baby, who was really colicky in the beginning, and seeing other moms like being able to walk around and chat, and then my baby crying, which really broke my heart. And so you feel really alone, and it is like everything you knew went out the window because your life is completely different. And you can go through a dark night of the soul when a loved one crosses over. But again, you can go through it. It can just get triggered by some little thing in your day that brings you to tears. And maybe you can't even explain why. But for some reason, it brings up so much for you. They may be subconscious patterns, memories that you might be aware of or might not be aware of, and you can like look at it and take a better kind of have some curiosity about it of like, gosh, why is that such a trigger for me? So, how long does a dark night of the soul last? It can be anything. It can be a night. Rarely is it one night, because that would take some huge inner strength and courage to really dig that deep and to figure out what that message is. So it could be a week, it could be a month, it could be a year or years. You think about people that have gone through severe trauma and have turned it in a way to uplift the world, like Maya Angelou, who had gone through a rape and then years of being silent and mute, and then developing this amazing voice of a poet with words that touch people around the world. So you don't know, you can't plan for it, right? It happens, and you can't plan when it will be over because you have to go through it. And part of it depends on how you see it. So I remember I had years of feeling lonely, and especially in my early years as a medical student and then a resident, and even as a younger physician. And then one day, a healer said to me, you might have heard me say this before, but she said to me, a part of your life path is to learn how to be alone and not lonely. So as soon as she said that, it really switched things around for me. And I knew that feeling alone but not lonely was part of my purpose. And there was a purpose to my suffering. And because of that, I no longer suffered. So it may not be so instantaneous like that, but it's to find some sort of meaning, even though things feel meaningless, even though your world has turned upside down, to find some sort of light and some sort of joy. And so for me, it was, oh, this is my life calling. And I looked at it as all the struggles that I had been through, maybe feeling lonely or not feeling understood, as a training ground, so to speak. And for what? So, think about what would be worth it. What would this training ground be worth for you to become? Is it a Jedi Knight? Is it a peaceful warrior? Or whatever mystical light being inspires you. So, this is what your dark night of the soul can help you become. There is no set time period. And there's no wishing for it to be over because it is part of your healing and growth, no matter how painful it feels. So let's review again and summarize like, how do you know if you're in a dark night of the soul? Physically, it feels like a heavy weight. It can feel like a crushing pressure. Um, not Yes, you can have like chest symptoms, but of course, if you're having like really physical symptoms of crushing chest pain, to get that checked out. But it's just really more this heavy weight on you, and you'll have a curling inward of the body because there's you feel stressed, you feel trauma. You can have sobs of grief, even though you may not know what you're grieving. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, or maybe you just don't understand what you're feeling. And there can be real tears as or inner tears that don't know how to emerge, and you're not sure what to do. It's a deep inner struggle. It's a very intense time of sadness and despair. And you might feel like you don't want to see the light because you want to stay in your cave, because maybe what the light is asking you to do is hard. It's going to be hard. It's going to take courage. It's going to take doing something new. So it will take some energy and momentum. So there's this searching feel, and but you can move through it. So what can you do about it? I'm going to go through three keys. The first is to embrace yourself, to accept the state you are in, to accept the messiness of the cocoon too. You can feel all kinds of emotions, not just the sadness and despair. You can feel confused. And so it's about acknowledging all of that. Kind of like when if you have to clean up the house, you have to see the mess and then acknowledge the state in order to decide to change it. And so you have to, in a way, love your house to be able to put your energy into cleaning it. So maybe that's not always the best analogy for me because I can ignore a mess at home, but it's true. And to change, you must first be able to see and accept the state you're in. And you can't pretend your messy house is clean before you clean it. You can be in the state of like knowing that there's a light to the end of it, and knowing that light helps to guide you. And you must see yourself as is. And the truth of it is that you are already beautiful, just like your home is already beautiful because you're in it. You make your home, not the exterior, not the external world. So you love yourself so much that you want to take care of yourself. And that's part of embracing yourself. And you could do little things like take a salt bath or just rest. So that leads us into the second key: let go of the how and let the stillness lead you. That stillness is the oneness of all. It is the omnipotent divine love. It is so quiet in the stillness, yet the potency is palpable. So letting go of the how and letting the stillness lead you can feel really hard. It's not called the dark night of the soul for nothing. It's much easier when you're through it. And in hindsight, you're so thankful that you've been through it and for the growth that you've had. So, what would you do if all you had to do was be nice and kind to yourself? So, again, get your extra rest, journal, cry, do some gentle stretches, do a little qigong, tai chi, or restorative yoga, and just move yourself through it. You're going to feel like you're curled up in a ball. So let those tears out, but then also be kind enough to nourish yourself, to keep hydrated, to get the extra rest, to move. And sometimes it's hard to feel the stillness when everything feels chaotic. I've had this before when my head was pounding or my ears were ringing and I felt like I couldn't even hear my own thoughts. I had to literally place myself in a dark room and be very still and then listen to my pain to hear the stillness, to dive deeper into my hurt to hear the stillness. Sounds like a paradox, and maybe it is. So, but going into it and having that curiosity of wanting to know myself better, to hoping to hear what my inner light says. So waiting for that stillness until slowly a message emerges. And you can also see episode 34 of the Multidimensional MD. It's transforming sadness, the 4-step process of the avocado and the sun. That is really useful. It's what I used when going through the grief of my dad dying suddenly and unexpectedly. Okay, so what is the third key of what you can do to move through the dark night of the soul? It is to be willing to see another perspective. The dark night is all about rebirth. You're in the cocoon or the chrysalis, transforming, transmutating, about to merge as a beautiful butterfly. That's what I was for Halloween, a blue butterfly with universe wings, galaxy wings. So that doesn't mean you weren't beautiful as a caterpillar. Just because you are about to become a beautiful butterfly doesn't mean you are ugly now, but that you're growing wings and you're about to fly. So you're transforming, you're evolving, you're growing. It gives the darkness and hurt and messiness some kind of purpose. It's a catalyst to propel you into a new stage in life. So, can you see your pain propelling you towards a higher calling? Listen, and what could that higher calling be? What if you were able to get over this dark night? How could you help people through being able to get over it for yourself? And can you be willing to take on that calling? It is hard and can take courage. I feel like that from time to time. Sometimes I feel sorry for myself and I argue with spirit. I'm whined to spirit, but I'm so tired. Don't you see all the things I'm doing? How can I possibly do more? And then spirit will answer me. Sometimes by creating more time for me to rest, because I said I was tired. Sometimes by me getting sick, so I have to rest. I have no choice. And sometimes spirit is direct, and I can hear a direct message, and spirit says to me, "You're fine. Just keep going. We'll send you energy." So, I do help myself through saying certain mantras, and because when you're feeling really down, um, and during those dark nights, like for me, I will tend to feel sorry for myself. I'll have this self-pity. But then I know that it's a vibration and I can move myself through any vibration. So first I acknowledge that, okay, yes, I feel sorry for myself. I feel really sad, desperate, I feel despair. I don't even understand it all. I'm confused. So I will say that and maybe I'll incorporate it into my mantra, the acknowledgement, but then knowing that I'm even more than all of that. So I'll say, even if I feel broken, I am whole. I'll acknowledge the paradox. Even if I feel broken, I am whole. Or I might say, because I'm in this dark cave and everything seems so bright and confusing, I'll say, I am love and I choose to see the light. Even if the light is bright, I am willing to see it. So I'm willing to have that perspective. So acknowledging myself and willing to have another perspective. I am made of divine light and love. I am love and light. And then you use those mantras to help propel you, to help give you momentum. So just the vibration of those words in the beginning, maybe you don't feel like you mean it. That's okay. Just start saying them. The words themselves will help carry you. And then as you say them more and more, you can start to feel them more sincerely and feel that vibration in your body. And that gives you momentum. And you need momentum to get up, to look up, and to move yourself and to grow through this dark night. So then you can ask your subconscious. You just throw the question out and let go of the how and know that the answers and the steps will come to you. If I am love and light, if I am love and light, what would I do? What would I do in this moment? What would I do today? Because I don't need to figure out the whole rest of my life. I don't need to even know what's going on next week. In my dark night, it feels so heavy. All I need to know is what to do in this moment. So to be kind and nice to yourself, to say, if I am love and light, what would I do? And then see if you can move your body in that direction. So I hope that this has helped you in some way. If you have any questions about this, because this is such a huge topic and so important in health and healing, and if you embrace this, then it can really move you to another feeling like another level. It's not like a race. It's not like it's not really levels, but it can feel like that because you're inspired. You're able to look up and you are a different, you're still you, but you're different. You are more loving and you feel more compassion for yourself and for others. And so this helps you in whatever you hope to do in the world. And maybe you don't even know what that is yet. And maybe this dark night is guiding you and is part of your compass to get you through there. But first, you have to learn certain things. First, you have to see yourself in a certain way and to see your light. Sometimes it gets really dark and still. And then you can see that flame of your heart, that fire of your being, that bright star, like the North Star, that is always there to guide you. So let me know if you have any questions, any comments, any feedback, if you've gone through your own dark night, anything you would like to share with others that could be helpful too. Then please leave them in the comment. I would always love to hear from you. You can also find me on Instagram at All Worlds Health, or you can sign up for my e-love letters. I send them out once a week on Wednesdays at allworldshealth.com. And I so love being here with you every week because I believe in you and I hope that you believe in you too. So lots of love to you. Have an amazing rest of your week. And I'll see you next week, next Wednesday. Hopefully I'll start on time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time on another episode of the MultiDimensional MD. It's Dr. Arlene Diamco. Love you all. Take care. See you next time.